Hi, Facebook. Happy Friday to you too. I am on both Instagram and Facebook, and I'm very excited to be here with you guys this morning because I want to tell you a story about purpose. And the story was inspired by a call that I had with one of my group programs last week, where we talked about their goals for 2019 and how much money they wanted to make in 2019 and all of that fun stuff. And one of the main points that we discussed and went through together was thinking about when they had this income goal, what was the purpose behind making that much money? And, this wasn't about dumbing down or simplifying your expenses or what you want, but just really understanding that if you have clarity around why you want something, good morning, then you're much more likely to make it happen. And I have been thinking about that all week, and it reminded me of a story when this really played out in my own life that I wanted to tell today, and I have never really shared this, so I'm very excited because it's a true testament to how powerful purpose and holding true to possibility can be in your own life when you really, really want something. So this story happened when I was pretty young. I was about 22, maybe even 21, and I was working at my very first job, a 9-to-5 job, making not very much money at all, and I was living paycheck to paycheck. And I was living in Manhattan, but I didn't, I had 2 roommates, and all this is to say that I didn't have a whole lot of money left over in my life. I wasn't saving a whole lot, and basically I was just making enough to pay my rent, my student loans, my, groceries and things like that. I did not have tons of extra money at all. And my student loan payments were not inexpensive. So that was the situation. And it was in about October of that year that I realized that about 4 months later, it was my parents' 30th wedding anniversary. And now I'm the oldest of 3 kids. So it was kind of up to me to spearhead the movement to do something special for them for their 30th anniversary. When it was their 25th anniversary, I was in college, so I didn't have a whole lot of money. I might have even been in high school now that I think about it. But the point is, we didn't do anything for their 25th anniversary, so we knew we had to do something special for their 30th to make up for it. So at the time, I'm living here in New York City. My middle sister's living in a different town in Colorado than the town my parents lived in. So she was closer than I was, but she was still not close at all. It was about an 8-hour drive, and she didn't have a car or anything. And then my youngest sister was home with my parents, but she certainly didn't have any money. So our resources were limited, to say the least, but we really, really wanted to do something fun and big to surprise them. They were the best parents. They had a really great marriage, and so we wanted to, we were committed. This was our purpose. We were going to do something fun for them. So their anniversary is in January, right after the holidays. So that's even a little bit more financially tricky because we didn't have, or we had just been spending money on Christmas, and my parents helped out a bit with my plane ticket to go home for Thanksgiving and Christmas. So I certainly couldn't have asked for them to fly me home again for their anniversary just 3 weeks later. It wouldn't have been a surprise. This really was up to me. So we decided that that's what we wanted to do, though. We wanted to throw them a surprise anniversary party, and we wanted to really have it be this surprise where they came home from dinner, and my sisters and I, 2 of us who don't even live there, and one of us, the one that did live there at the time, the youngest, was actually supposed to be out of town that weekend, so none of us were supposed to be home, and we wanted to have this surprise where we all came home and they were there. And we were there, and it was this big, happy anniversary, and their friends were there, and they would be so blown away that we were there all the way from out of town, and it just looked so perfect in our head. The problem, of course, hey you guys, thank you all for tuning in, whether you're on Facebook or Instagram. I'd love to know where you're tuning in from. Just comment and let me know where you are. I'd love to hear, and even if you're watching the replay later. Anyway, the problem here was that it's the town my parents lived in Colorado. Is a very small town. It's very isolated, and it's very hard to get to. And so it's pretty expensive. And I did not have the money to spend, at this point, I think it was something like $600 or $700 to go home and surprise them. I just didn't. I was young, and I wasn't making enough money on my own, and my job was not going to give me a raise anytime soon. So all that possibility was out. I had no clue how I was going to pull through and make this happen. But when I made the decision with my sisters in October or November, and this was also before I had Urban 20-something, or I had a business or a side hustle or any extra way to make money. My 9-to-5 job was it. So, if you're like feeling like you need a little bit of extra money in your life, and you have a website or a business or anything, you're already way ahead of where I was, and I still managed to pull it off. Here's what happened. When I committed that I was going to make this happen, I was going to make this happen. I was going to go home for my parents' 30th anniversary and surprise them. And I was going to be able to pay for the things that they needed for the party. And I was going to be able to pay for, you know, the cakes and be able to help my sisters and things like that, because they were in college and high school. They didn't have any money either. It was a decision that I made, and I just had to hold so strong to the faith that there was going to be a way for this to happen, even though there was no feasible way for me to pull in an extra $600 or $700 before the end of the year. My income wasn't going to go up. I didn't have a side hustle. You know the deal. But I just kept strong to this faith. I knew that this was my purpose. I knew I needed to throw this for them. They had done so much for me. I knew if there was a will, there's a way. And I just stuck with it, and I envisioned it in my head. I thought about it every day. I saw myself there. I saw them coming home. I saw the surprise happening. I saw how happy they would be. I saw my sisters getting there. I envisioned it. I stuck with it. I kept going. And I said, I need to buy my plane ticket by the end of November, because after that, things got even more expensive, and I didn't know if I would be able to pull it off after that. So that was my deadline, the end of November. And we're getting there. It's like mid-October. Nothing's happening. I don't have any money. I don't know what's going on. I'm starting to freak out. I'm wondering if my parents are somehow going to offer to, fly me home for no reason. I don't know what I was thinking, but I stayed so true to the faith. And we're about 3 days before the end of November, 3 days before I have to buy my plane ticket. And I am on a walk in the morning. I used to go on walks before my 9-to-5 job by myself. And I'm on a walk in the morning, and I was watching the sunrise over the east side of Manhattan. And I checked my phone after basically surrendering that morning to whatever, would be, trying not to overthink it and just really continuing to hold faith in this purpose. I checked my phone, and I got an email telling me that I had actually won an essay competition for the United Nations for an ethics essay I had written about the bioethics of helping female mutilation, I can't speak, in Rwanda. And guess what? The prize was $2,000 in cash whenever I wanted. There it was. You can imagine how stunned I was to be able to find out that I had won this competition right as I had been putting all my eggs into this basket of having this big thing work out. Now, am I saying that it was magic that I won this essay competition and that magic things happen when you want them to? Not really. I mean, I do think that there is some sort of divine intervention in my story. But what's really important here, and the reason I'm sharing this, is because when you have a real why for something, or you have a real purpose, or you have a real decision on why you want something to happen, and you believe in your heart of hearts that there is a way out there to make it happen, even if you can't see exactly what it is, then your brain opens up to possibility. You go into a resourceful mode. You go into a mode where all of a sudden you do hear about an essay competition, and you do decide to enter it, and you do work hard on it, and you do write a good essay, and then you win the damn thing. Instead of going to a place of thinking, I don't know how I'm going to make the money, because I don't know how, there must not be a way, and therefore all other things are basically going to get shut off. These opportunities really are around us absolutely everywhere. And if you go into this mode of thinking that you need to know how exactly you're going to make the money that you need at any time, we'll never get anywhere. The point is not to know. What's the excitement in that? We live in a world where there is always an opportunity to make more money, to impact people, and to get paid for what you're doing. But if you are in a state of thinking that you can only make money on the way that you've done so in the past, you're only going to make money as much as you have and in the ways that you've done so in the past. You have to open your mind, and that comes with purpose. That's why this video is so important. That's what the whole point of this is. When you have a real purpose for wanting to pay for something, to come up with money for something, to need to fund something that you know is going to be good for you, you have to continue believing that there's a way to fund it. And I promise you, if you hold true to the faith, if you open your mind, and if you stay excited about the way that this is going to happen, there will be a way. I believe it with all my heart. And this story is now more precious to me than ever, because not only was I able to, throw this amazing surprise party for my parents and fly home and surprise them and help my sisters get home. And it was just the complete surprise of their life. And I did it all financially on my own, even though I was at a time where I did not have any extra money at all. So a few years later, some of you may know that in March of this last year, my father passed away suddenly. So realizing that there are no more anniversaries I get to throw for my parents. That was the only shot. There is not going to be a 40th anniversary or a 50th or anything else like that. Really just makes me realize even more how much things are always working out in our favor in ways we can't even see. And that's why it's so important to detach from this why piece whenever possible. From there, you'll be able to find all these miracles around you all the time, just waiting for you to use them and to take advantage of them and to make the most of them, because you never know when you're not going to have the chance to do so anymore. So I hope that this video leaves you into the weekend with an open heart and an open mind, and a reminder that there's always, always a way for you to fund something that you desire. There's always a way to fulfill something that you desire. So whether that is joining something new or buying something new or doing something from someone else, if you know in your heart that there's an importance behind this, you don't have to know how you can do it, but you have to believe that you can do it and you will be able to do it. Our minds are powerful things. So are you training your mind to block off potential, or block off opportunity, to think in tunnel vision? Or are you training your mind to realize that there is always opportunity out there, and that there's always something new you can do and something new you can discover, and come into it with a playful and excited way of finding out what exactly is in store for you today and every day? All right, that is my message to you. I hope you guys enjoyed this story, and I would love to hear if you've ever experienced any similar financial, seemingly miracles, but really that you totally made happen. Or if you have any questions on this, I would love to hear from you. And I just also want to let you know to keep an eye out on my Instagram, Facebook, and if you're on my email list, that as well. I have a very special announcement coming on Monday, and I can't wait to share with you. In the meantime, have a wonderful, lovely, restful weekend, and I will talk to you guys soon.